I was a techie. I would say I was very technically sophisticated, and I was very good at running a business. I was in the category of work very, very hard and know my business. But what I didn't understand was,
You've probably been told that hard work is the key to success. But what if I told you that hard work alone is not enough? In fact, what if I said that too much hard work can actually keep you from success? I used to work 80 to 100 hours a week. I was improving my skills, staying on top of tech trends, and grinding harder than almost anyone that I knew. But no matter how hard that I pushed, I felt like I was just barely staying ahead. And it was definitely exhausting. But I thought I was doing the right thing. I'll pay now to enjoy life later. That was my thinking. But after years of paying now and not ever being able to enjoy my life, I came to my senses. My mindset shifted. In fact, one idea hit me so hard that I couldn't unsee it. It was simple. Wealthy people don't just work hard, it's that they understand how money works. They don't just earn money, they protect it, they grow it, and they rarely trade time for it. They understand that time is not money. They understand that time is infinitely more valuable than money. And what's wild is that some of my personal investments, made with just a few hours of research, outperformed years of full-time effort. And I started to realize that maybe the key here isn't working harder, maybe it's thinking harder. And in this video, I'm going to show you how that shift in mindset actually works, why the wealthy think differently, and how you can apply the same thinking starting today. Most of us are taught to equate effort with results. We believe that if we just hustle harder, that success will come. And that's definitely what I believe too. I worked nonstop. I stayed late, learned new skills, and I constantly tried to improve. But here's the problem. No matter how much effort I put in, I wasn't getting ahead financially the way that I thought I would. It felt like I was just treading water and not actually making progress. I never had enough time with my family. I was too busy working, trying to make sure that they were taken care of. I was in the grind, always busy, always pushing, but never really lifted my head up to see that I wasn't any closer to the shore. I was too busy to even realize that I was focused on the wrong things. Not just work over family. In my mind, I was working for my family, so it was justified. No, what I didn't realize was that the game was rigged. Why? Well, because I didn't understand the system that I was playing in. I was focused on technology and productivity and getting better at my craft. But I didn't understand how money actually works. I didn't understand inflation. I didn't understand leverage. And I didn't understand that the rules weren't built in favor of hard workers. No, instead, the rules were built in favor of people who think strategically about money. While I was investing all my energy into producing value, the value of what I was earning was quietly being drained through inflation and other hidden forces. The harder I worked, the more I earned, but it didn't increase my lifestyle spending, and yet the money didn't stretch as far as I thought it would. It was like trying to fill a leaky bucket. Meanwhile, the wealthy weren't necessarily working harder than me, but they understood something that I didn't. They knew how to hold on to what they earned. They understood the hidden cost of inflation and how to preserve purchasing power and how to let their money do the work. So while I was grinding away trying to get ahead, they were quietly building wealth. They were building wealth without burning out. They weren't working for their money, they were letting their money work for them. Here's the realization that changed everything for me. Time does not scale. You only have so many hours in a day. You can't clone yourself and you can't add more hours to the week. But assets scale endlessly. Unfortunately, the only asset I knew of was my house. And that actually wasn't an asset, it was a liability. But I didn't realize it at the time. And so from my very first job out of college, I started investing. So this isn't just about investing. But those investments, they grew some, but again, I was bit by a force that I didn't understand. I had a 401k and I didn't understand that the fees were sucking away even the small gains that I was making. Additionally, early on, I was taxed at a lower tax rate. So I should have had a Roth account instead, but I didn't know any better. So I deferred to my taxes when my tax rate was low to pay taxers when I'd be in a higher tax bracket. And it wasn't until about like 9 years ago that I started really thinking harder about what to buy. And I focused some of my energy, not just how to earn, but how to properly invest. And I was shocked because I spent just a few hours doing the research and it wasn't that hard, but the results, well, those investments ending up performing better than years of full-time labor. Years. That was my wake-up call. The money I earned from working those 80 to 100-hour weeks had a ceiling. But the money that I invested had no ceiling. Plus, it didn't require my time, or at least it required very little of my time. I could let it grow while I slept, while I spent time with my family. And that's the difference between labor and leverage. You see, wealthy people, they don't just work less, they shift earlier. They make a mental and strategic shift that most people never even realize is possible. They look at assets as their employees. It works for them, not the other way around. I recently watched an interview between Michael Saylor and Jordan Peterson. And what Saylor said stopped me in my tracks. So here's a guy with $500 million in cash and a successful operating business, but he realized he was losing ground, even while doing everything right. So take a listen to this.
We had $500 million in cash. I have 2,000 hardworking employees. I have an operating business that's a cash cow, and I have $500 million in cash. And that cash, in the best period, back in 2010, just before the great financial crisis, or, in that range, interest rates got to 5%, 5.5%. And, maybe you could make $25 million a year on that. And then interest rates got hammered down. The central bankers kept printing money, and they actually forced the interest rates down. I didn't understand that they were manipulating the interest rates to make them lower during that decade. I was a techie. I would say I was very technically sophisticated, and I was very good at running a business. I was in the category of work very, very hard and know my business. But what I didn't understand was money. And I didn't understand banking, and I didn't realize that as hard as I was working, they were taking it out the back door through inflation.
When I heard that, it hit me. I mean, that was my story too. It's just my story was on a smaller scale. But he said, I was in the category of work very, very hard and know my business. He said, but what I didn't understand was money. He didn't understand banking. He didn't realize that while he was working, they were taking it out the back door through inflation. I mean, I've been grinding for years, learning new tech, working crazy hours, pushing myself harder than ever. But I didn't understand inflation. I didn't understand leverage. I didn't understand the system. And that's when I finally started to think harder. And that's when things changed for me. And Michael Saylor's story highlighted something very clearly. He had $500 million in cash in a successful operating business, but that wasn't enough. Once inflation started eroding his cash and Wall Street inflated assets to insane levels, he realized he was losing regardless of how hard he was working. And that's the game. The game is not about doing more, it's about shifting how you think. Time does not scale, but capital can, energy can, your assets can. If you only trade time for money, you'll always run out. But if you can shift to assets, if you can put your money to work, you'll actually give yourself the freedom to gain more. And that's where the real change begins. The real change is not in just what you do, but the real change is in how you think. The first shift is that you have to learn what actually holds value. Not what the media says, not what your neighbor says, not what a glossy brochure says. You see, real value comes from assets that resist inflation. It comes from assets that protect your purchasing power and doesn't require your time to maintain. We've been trained to believe money is just what we're paid, but that's not money. Money is a way to store energy. If your money leaks energy over time, it's like cash sitting in a zero interest account and inflation rises and it's not working for you. It's being eroded away. It's decaying. And this is why thinking harder matters. When you stop focusing on just earning money and start to really study money to understand what it is and how it moves, then you can start to see the world differently. You stop focusing only on output and start focusing on strategy. Before you spend more time, you pause. You'll ask yourself this important question: is this activity producing results long after I stop doing it? Am I building something that works without me? That's leverage. Building a business that can run without you is key. Build your business in a way that you can sell it. Even if you don't sell it, you can let it run without you so you can enjoy your life while the asset that you created continues to make money for you. Leverage is when you make one smart decision that pays off for years. It might be investing in the right asset or building a business system that runs without you, or even just saying no to a distraction so you can focus on what compounds. That's what happened to me. When I took a fraction of my time and I applied it to hard thinking by researching, analyzing, and deciding, then I found that with just a few wise moves, I actually outperformed years of my raw effort. That's leverage. That's hard thinking. It's a shift from labor to ownership, from always doing to strategically planning. And then once you make that shift, you don't just buy back your time for the short term, you actually multiply your long-term future. Hard work isn't bad. In fact, hard work is needed, but hard work without the right mindset, well, that's what keeps most people stuck. But today you've seen how effort alone does not guarantee success. You've seen why assets beats effort and how shifting from labor to leverage can completely change your trajectory. So if you're tired of working more and earning less, if you want to spend more time with your family without sacrificing your income, then the next step is to shift your mindset and your strategy. And that's exactly what my book is designed to help you do. It's called Work Smarter, Think Harder. And inside, you'll learn how to double your revenue using better strategy and execution. You'll also discover how to cut your hours in half by automating and systematizing and delegating. Now, this is not an investment book, but the mindset shift it teaches will help you think so clearly that you'll begin to make smarter moves in every area of your life, including your money. Everyone tells you to work smarter, but no one shows you how. Well, this book does. So if you're ready to stop grinding and start growing, go and grab your copy at www.worksmarterbook.com. Thanks for watching, and remember, working smarter starts by thinking harder. And I'll see you in the next video.